everybody and welcome. So today I am going to show you how to dissect this beautiful flower here. And it's quite cruel, I know, but we're going to reproduce it in sugar. So some of the first steps is to just have a look if we're going to do the leaves or not. We might need to just pull that apart and lay that down ready. And I'm going to make the mould. That's going to be the first thing I'm going to do. So in these pots here, I have two different colours. Now this is actually this stuff here. It's called Silly Creations, and you can make moulds with it. Now how it works, you mix 50% of one, 50% of the other. As soon as you put them together, it starts kicking in the drying process, and it will mould whatever you put it to. So it's really good. Now what I'm going to do is just take a ball of one, like that. And then the same size ball of the other. So make sure that they are roughly the same size. A little bit more green perhaps. You can weigh this if you want to. There we are. Now, as soon as I start putting them together, that's when the drying process will start kicking in. So we start mixing it. And it's really nice because you don't get a lot of air bubbles with this. So I personally like this one. And what I tend to do is I actually use the lid of the packet is perfect. So I'm going to be using that today. So we mix and mix. I'm going to rip it in half. Put one bit down. So there's roughly half there. So the two colours are mixed together. And that's that. We put that to one side just for a second. And then I come to this lovely flower. Now what I'm doing is I'm looking at it back and front to make sure that these really big petals are lovely and full. I'm going to gently pull that one off. We also need to make that one. So we pull that one off as well. And those are our two petals that we're going to reproduce. So we gently roll this into the shape. So it's a little bit wider at the top. Don't make it too thin. There we are. That's roughly the shape we're going to. A bit longer perhaps. Now I put it down on that plastic. I put it on plastic because it won't stick. If I put it on the paper it will. So I'm happy with that. That's ready to go. Then I'm going to get my petal. I'm going to start right at the bottom and gently press down. So I'm very gently sort of walking up the petal and then walking to the sides. If we need to move some of that paste around, we can. And do the same on the other side as well. There we are. So I can see green all the way around the edge. Bit more there perhaps, but that looks fine. And then what we're going to do is get the rest of the paste ready. Now if you want to take some of the excess away, we can, because I don't waste this. There we are. Now I'm going to be using Nivea cream. Just any cold cream will do. A little bit on the edge of your finger. And then we wipe it around the petal, like so. So we're just wiping it around. Now this is going to stop the top layer sticking. So there we are. And then I'm rolling this second ball. Again, similar kind of shape, longer at the bottom, more around the top, because we want it to fit totally around. So that needs to be a little bit wider. So that is ready. And then we very carefully place it down. Now I gently push upwards, and as I'm pressing down, I'm pressing quite firmly. Make sure we cover all of that petal. Now I'm going to lift it up to show you. that there's no signs of any petal there. It's all concealed inside, and you can also see the bottom as well. Now we put that to one side to dry. We're going to do exactly the same with this petal as well, but I've already done a bit of preparation here and created my 2 petals. Now it'll take a couple of hours to dry, but when it does dry it goes very sort of rubbery. And I haven't pulled this apart yet, so let's have a look. Perfect. So there is my mould. There is my petal, which I will just peel away. Just gently. It's no good now, so just get rid of that petal. And there we have it, a double-sided veiner, which hasn't cost us a lot of money. You can see, so all the veiners there, and I've still got all of this left, so you can make a lot of veiners with a very small amount. I think it's a really lovely mixture to use. And then we're going to undo this one. Now if it does stick a little bit around the edge, that just means I haven't put enough of the Nivea paste on, the cream. There we are. Beautiful, and we're going to use these to recreate our flower. Just digging that little bit out. You can cut round them if you want. I don't. I tend to find that they're quite nice as they are. And they fit together like a glove. Perfect. So those are our veiners ready to make our flower. We're going to put those to one side, because I also just want to show you how to do a reference. So we can of course make a beautiful vein of the petal and the leaf, but I'm actually going to put that down and very carefully just mark out. And can you see I'm not doing one movement, I'm doing lots of little movements to get this just sketched out as best we can. And then I move it away and I can draw the rest of that in. Now it hasn't got to be perfect, this is a guidance, but this is just a reference that I go back to. And then I look at the veins, and the veins are kind of, there's one quite deep one right in the centre, and then I can see there's 3 altogether, so we just draw those in very gently. There we are. So that is our leaf, and then we come to our petal. So I look at this petal and I place it down. Quite hard to draw sometimes, because sometimes they want to just curl up. So this is why I do all of these little movements to try and get it just right. There we are. Stop there a minute. Then we can add that little bit. And then when we come to cutting this out and using it as a template, you'll see it's quite simple. It all comes together quite well. So that's our petal. Now I do tend to look at that and think it's got markings, but we're going to come back to that when we colour it. I'm going to come back to my flower and take another large one. Oh, I do need to say that when we're drawing this one, there's actually 2 of those. So I put a little line saying ×2, because I know I need 2 of those together. And then the same with this one. It's always good to have a few flowers to copy from, just so that you do get it totally correct. And then as I say, just gently sketch around like so. And then we move that to one side. We can see that's much darker. And that kind of comes around a little bit more. There we are. So that's that one. And again, how many of those have we got? ×3. And then there's a little baby one here, look. So I'm very careful. I'm going to have to dissect it all, I think, to get to that one. There it is. So a cute little one. This one's very tricky because it's all sort of curled up. So we lay that down. Very pretty little one. And these are all different. They're lovely to copy different ones. There we are. and there's just one of those, so times 1. Now I tend to put them all lined up ready, and then I think about colouring. What do I need to colour them in? So I have a few things I use. This here is one of them, Calendar. They're really good aqua colours, and as you can see, very messy, but great fun. So I just put a little bit of whatever colour I think up here, and then I'd get my paintbrush and actually paint it in. So that's one way of doing it. Now if you haven't got watercolours, I have this lovely set here. So can you just about see the name there? Chameleon colour tone pencils these are. So if I open it up to show you all of my lovely pencils with the different tones at the bottom. So that's what I tend to use more than anything else. So I'm going to have a look, and I think I actually need to be more pink, don't I? So that one's more appropriate. There's some nice greens in there, so I'm just simply going along, and I go along with my, and see which one. That one's actually probably the nearest, those two. So that's what I'm doing, and getting my pencils at the ready. And as I say, you can use watercolours, you can use paints, whatever you would normally use. Now I'm looking at that, and there might be a tinge of this at the top here, so I'll just put that to one side. This one's going to be the majority of the colour, I think. And then I just gently shade in where that colour is. And this is, as I say, we're using this as reference, just so that we've got this when we come back to creating it in sugar. And also it's always there. Quite often when we make things, we just forget how to do it. So go a little bit darker, like so, and that green comes in. So let's just, I'm going to use this one, I think. Gently put a bit of green there as that tone. So that's that one. Happy with that. While I've got the green on, let's just, there's not much actually at the bottom. Tiny bit of green. Not much at all. Put that to one side. And I'll get my, this one's quite important because it's got quite a lot of white in it. So we just gently, I'm holding the petal so I can see what I'm doing. But it doesn't really come much further down. Kind of stops there, doesn't it? And it, if I press harder, can you see the colour will go harder? It can go darker. So I can get the right shade. But yeah, not much else is going on there. Just very gently leave that. Now I do want a darker tone, so I'm going to go back to my box and put a kind of red in, I think. And I'm pressing down quite hard, looking at these lines and where are these lines going. And they're all getting smaller as they come down. So that's that one. So we're going to put that one aside. And then let's look at this one that we're doing. That's got a bit of pink in it as well, actually. So let's start at the bottom here with a little bit of pink. Just gently colour it in, because this is how I then will transfer it. And we're just gently going around that petal. But as I say, this is all about reference. We can come back to this in 10 years' time and hopefully we'll be able to understand it, all being well. There we are. And that fades. And as I say, we can go darker if we want to in those certain areas. It's a lovely colour, actually. The next job is to find it in your cake stash. That's normally the tricky bit. So there we are. And I'm just going to bring it down and blend that colour in a little bit. Hoping the camera's not wobbling too much as I'm working. There we are. So, those are my petals. And then the leaf, I look at that and it's a mixture of the two really, depending on which way it goes. So I'm just going to very gently shade this in. So you can see I'm not going too dark, but I will do. I'll go over it and go darker. And colour it all in. It has a little funny twist at the bottom. Okay, so then we've got 1, trying to follow those lines, 2, and then 3. It's important not to lose those, because when we're looking at what veiners we're going to use, if we haven't made one, we can see what we've already got in our box. I don't make veiners for every flower that I do, because otherwise you end up way too many. So I tend to see what I can recycle. And there we are, we darken that to make that look lovely. So that is going to be our reference for our Alstroemeria, and I will show you how to put it together next.